Welcome to the Broncos podcast. I am your host, Troy Renck from the Denver Post. It is a Victory Monday, Broncos country. Your Broncos, as we predicted, as really anyone watching football this year could predict. The Broncos clobber the Panthers, or the Kittens, as I like to call them, 28-14. Broncos reach the halfway point at 5-3. First time they've been at least 2 games over 500 at the halfway point since 2016. That, folks, is the last time the Broncos had a winning season. And I think they're going to top that this year. Not only are they going to have a winning season, with the 5-3 start and the schedule remaining and the way the AFC has opened up this year, with the Jets gone, Dolphins gone, Bengals hanging on for dear life with dental floss, Colts a fraud team, the path is there for the Broncos to make it as a 7th seed, maybe even a 6th. But it's there in front of them. And you're going to say, Troy, you thought they were going to win 6 games. I did. But I adjust with what my eyes are telling me. Their defense has been a top 10 defense in franchise history through the halfway point. Bo Nix continues to get better. Now, I've been right about Bo Nix, folks. Those who panic about Bo Nix, I've told you, give him time. We'll know and have a better read by next Thanksgiving. But he's too accurate in college to not be able to throw in the NFL. And he's too good of an athlete that he was at Auburn not to be able to run in the NFL. And you're telling me you wouldn't take him as Jalen Hurts? A poor man's Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson? I mean, come on. And those players needed patience their first couple years, especially Allen. And he does not have the arm strength of either Jackson or Allen. But I've had players on the Broncos tell me Nix reminds them of Hurts in both personality, in leadership, and how they kind of play. Hurts is definitely more of a running quarterback when you look at his build, but a better version of Hurts for the Broncos? You're telling me you can't win with that? And they are winning. They've won 5 of 6, Broncos country. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. It's time, as I write in my column, and please go to it at thedenverpost.com, Denver Post /sports. You'll see the opinion, and that's mine, that it is playoffs or bust. Same as the title for this podcast. Everything is in front of the Broncos now. Their coach doesn't make excuses for him. The players believe it. Why should we? Why should I? What's changed? Their defense is historically good in terms of their franchise history. Excuse me. And their offense is growing to where if they become a functional passing team with their ability to run, they can win 5 more games. They can go 5-4 when you look at that schedule. It's not the schedule we thought it was. It's not. So enjoy it. Savor it. Because right now, the Broncos have realistic playoff expectations. And I will go even further and say if they don't make it, given how well their defense is playing, it would be a disappointment. I can't believe we're here in October. But that's what the Broncos have done. That's why the season matters. Injuries matter. And buy-in matters. Coaching matters. And the Broncos finally are not the team that's the fire hydrant. They are the dog. Feels better, doesn't it? Feels better to watch the Carolina Panthers whining about getting the score run up on them. That was the Broncos for 7-8 years. Oh, teams are doing this to us. It's the refs. It's the wind. It's the light. It's everything. And now it's, no, we're just going to punch you in the face and ask questions later. So the Broncos, folks, enjoy it, savor it. Why are they playoffs or bust? I want to get into a little bit of that. And Bo Nix, coming off his best game of his career, leaves him as, you're not going to believe this, when you look at those numbers in October, the conclusion we're going to draw. And also, what's coming ahead. Because the rubber's about to meet the road, because it gets a lot tougher for your Broncos. But, man, this is fun. Broncos are in it. They're competitive. And they got a shot, folks. More than a shot. We'll get to all of that after the break. Hey, have you been injured in a car wreck or hurt at work? What are you waiting for? Call my friends at Hoggett Injury Law. They're waiting for you. Their motto with us, it's personal. Darby Hoggett, he's my man. I've known him for years. We became good friends. Many of his clients become Darby's good friend. You don't even have to pay Darby up front. If your case goes as planned, Darby will be the one writing checks to you. So again, if you've been hurt in a car wreck or injured at work, give Darby's team a call. That's 1-833-HO-GGATT, or visit the website at hoggettlaw.com. Basketball fans, it's that time of year again. The NBA is back from opening tip-off to buzzer beaters. Bet online, they have you covered with the best odds, biggest promotions, and live in-game betting on all your favorite teams. This season, every game matters. Bet online has every stat, matchup, breakdown, and live odds to bet on during the game. And it's not just the NBA. Bet online has odds on everything from football, MLB playoffs, the NHL, to political props. Head to the website today to get in on all the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. Bet online. The game starts here. Folks, welcome back to the Broncos pod. I am your host, Troy Renck from the Denver Post. Hope you're having a wonderful Monday. It's always a better start of the week. If you've lived in Colorado and you're a native like I am, always a better start to the week when the Broncos win. And I say that as someone who didn't grow up a Broncos fan. I was a fan of John Elway, fan of Terrell Davis, and I covered Davis. Like, I was a fan of specific players. But I grew up in Pueblo, Colorado, in southern Colorado, and I tell people this all the time. You can go to Trinidad all the way up to the last exit up in Fort Collins, and you can find somebody that'll talk Broncos with you. Every restaurant, everywhere in between, the Broncos carry the day. And when they're good, as they are right now, it is a different vibe. And it's been a while. And I get some people saying, I don't know if I want to buy in. You've been catfished. We all have. There's been 14 quarterbacks since Peyton Manning. 2 have a winning record. And there's a third one sitting there right now in Bo Nix. But this team feels different. Feels like it has staying power. And it's not just because of the quarterback position. The defense is playing out of its mind. The defense is allowing right at 15 points a game. That's what the 2015 defense did, folks. And it's not the 15 defense. We understand that. We talked about that in the last pod. But they have some traits. You got Nick Benito out here getting sacks in 6 straight games. You got a lot of guys eating. Benito, Cooper, the pressure they're bringing from Ellis. Again, it would not surprise me if they trade Baron Browning this next week to get a draft pick. I would still look to, I know it sounds blasphemous after yesterday, I would still look to see and kick the tires on David Njoku. With all due respect to the National Tight Ends Day performance of Adam Troutman, and that one-hand catch was absolutely slick by him for a touchdown. Nate Atkins gets a touchdown. It does require a qualifier that the Panthers stink. They're terrible. And I thought the Saints were bad, and I think they've lost 6 straight. And they are, but they're more relegated to the defensive side of the ball. The Panthers are just overall putrid. And you have to understand that, but it was a get-right game. It was a get-right game to regain home field dominance. It was a get-right game for Bo Nix. But afterward, a couple of things happened I think we have to pay attention to. And why 5-3 feels different than 3-5 last year when they went on that was part of their run of 5 straight wins. They were climbing last year. They were climbing up that hill more than Kate Bush and Stranger Things. This year, 0-2 has turned to 5 wins in their last 6 and 3 straight on the road. That's different already. You're not requiring all the energy just to try to get back into it. Secondly, you win 28-14. You absolutely dominate the Panthers. They went like 8 possessions where they didn't get a first down. After it was an ugly start. It was a clumsy start. Little Jordan Humphrey, which I don't for the life of me understand why he plays as much as he does, but I know he's a Sean Payton guy. He fumbles. Panthers go down, score. It's the first time in the history of his career in 19 games Bryce Young's ever driven down and scored a touchdown on his first drive. But now Bryce Young is 0-10 on the road as a starter and 0-12 altogether on the road. Never won a road game. And watching him in person, folks, he's just too small. I hope he has a career. His quarterback, too small. It's not going to work out for him to be a guy. I just don't see it. He could be in the league. I don't see him as a franchise guy. But there was things that happened after the game. One, Peyton was reluctant to embrace it. And they dominated the Panthers. Peyton was the one that said, like, listen, we're going to face better teams and better offenses than that moving forward. I told the players that. That's just the truth. Ha! Right into the back of the Panthers. And this comes moments after he got into it with J.C. Horn on the field after the game. Understand, Sean Payton coached J.C. Horn's dad, Joe Horn, with the Saints back in the day. Joe Horn, heck of a player, heck of a receiver. So we asked Peyton, what was that exchange? He's like, oh, I was just telling him, your dad, I coached him, it was great. That is the biggest joke. Of course you don't jump. That's what you're screaming at him? I coached your dad? No, he wasn't saying that. Horn was yelling before the game ended about the Broncos running up the score, and Peyton was yelling back at him, basically like, what are you talking about? And again, if you think Peyton gives two shits about what the Panthers think, you don't know the first thing about it. This guy is cocky. He's arrogant. Go back and look how he taunted the Minnesota fans with their skull chant. Go back and look how he taunted Falcons fans through the years, whether even on social media. This is who Peyton is. He sticks his chin out. He's arrogant. And when they're losing, it comes across as abrasive and annoying and irritating. But when they're winning, man, does it play. And his players, they're feeding off him. They're starting to take the personality on of the coach. It gives off Mike Shanahan vibes. Now, Shanahan had like this under-seething glare to him that we'd call it like the side eye, that one rat eye that would look at things. It's almost like straight out of the Terminator where his eye would come out of his head and just spy things. That was like this glare, this evil glare that had like a laser to it. Peyton doesn't even pretend not to be confident and better than other teams. And so him getting into it with Horn, I love it. And here's why. This is what this team needs to get out of this malaise of the last 8 years of making excuses and playing the victim and, oh my God, everything's gone wrong. Coach them up. Do what you have with this team, this roster. Make them better. And if you don't think that matters, Peyton has the winningest percentage ever in October. He added to it again. 48-16 now in October, if memory serves. I mean, the guy absolutely owns October. And you look at his record, that's better than Curly Lambeau, Bill Belichick, Bill Cowher, Don Shula. He's 49-17. This guy has more fun in October than Halloween. And he's 6-3 in Denver. And why do I bring that up? Because good teams get better as the season goes on. How have we watched the Patriots for the better part of 20 years? The Chiefs now. Look at their record, from October on with those coaches. It matters. It shows it's a reflection of the staff, reflection of the buy-in, reflection of the attention to details. And that as Peyton has gotten more of his kind of guys to buy in and fit this, you see them continue to get better. And so he set the expectation after the game. He made it very clear. Basically, we beat the Panthers. Oh, well, we were supposed to. Bad teams, if you don't want to be bad, you beat other bad teams. That's how you get off that rung. And he said, I told them after the game, my expectations can't be higher than theirs. And that we have a much bigger games ahead. He set the bar. He believes in this team. So he also believes in Nix. So Bo Nix had his best passing day, nearly 300 yards passing. Again, the Panthers are bad. They weren't getting pressure, but who cares? It was a get-right game for Bo Nix and the passing game specifically. A 100-yard game for Cortland Sutton, the first by a Broncos receiver in a couple of years. The tight ends got involved. They almost passed their season total in receiving yards in one game. A get-right game. So what was Sean Payton saying afterward about Bo Nix? And what were Bo Nix and Zach Allen saying about Payton talking about expectations and this team meeting a standard? We got all of that with Big A dropping the sound behind the screen.
Bo is developing as the season goes on. How important can a game like this be in terms of the passing game and what you guys were able to do with him today? Can he build off that going into Baltimore?
Look, for a rookie quarterback, and look, I think all of these are steps, confident steps. We've seen it. The key is, and I said it, the key is around him. Are we good enough at these other positions around him? All right, and that's what we're constantly looking. We have to paint the picture, and when we do that, we'll have success. We'll move the ball. Today, we're much better on third down, better in the red zone. 2 wide receiver fumbles. just is what it is. Bothers you.
Coach said that I think he told you guys either before or after the game that your guys' expectations as players have to be higher than his, that you're going to play in bigger games than this. What does that mean to you in terms of what he's saying, that message, and the importance of leadership in that regard to kind of handling a little bit of prosperity?
Well, it's, I think one thing that sticks out is, you got a coach that really believes in his players and believes in his team. High standards for a coach, to me, is the ultimate sign of respect for a player. If you have high standards for a player, then you see some potential or you see something in them that either they see or they're trying to see, whatever. But I feel like we have high standards for ourselves too, and that's why we continue to go back and work and continue to show up and practice the way we do, and work hard and prepare and all those things. So I feel like it's great respect from him. He sees something in our team, and now we got to be able to execute and go out there and have the high standard like him.
He, is right in that, and we're a young team with a lot of guys that haven't had playoff experience, and so there are bigger games out there, but they don't know it, and it's up to guys that have been there to kind of make sure that the urgency and the consistency is there, and just make sure we just stay on task, because we do have a special group, and you don't want to waste a good team and good years like this.
Is that how you handle prosperity? Is just never losing the urgency?
Yeah, I mean, in this business, it's you never really. There's like we say, you rent, you don't buy. Everything can kind of disappear. So we got to really. It's hard to stay at the top or to be up there, and so that's why you don't see a lot of teams going. Winning every single year. It's a lot of, just making sure you just take it week by week, game by game, day by day. So we got a good group that's starting to believe in that kind of philosophy. It's just we got to make sure we just keep doing it.
Yeah, that was Zach Allen there finishing up the sounds you heard from Coach Payton, Bo Nix, and Zach Allen. This is a team that believes there's a camaraderie there. That, listen, every good team I've covered, and I haven't covered a lot of them because I covered the Rockies for 15 years. But I covered 3 or 4 good Rockies teams, including the 07 World Series. I covered the Broncos Super Bowl team of 2015, or playoff team of 14. Again, good teams I've covered. It's always about players playing for something bigger than themselves. They play for the guy next to them. They play for their coach. They take ownership. And I observe all these qualities in this team. And when things go wrong, they don't point fingers. They don't pit the offense against the defense. These are all things that happen with bad teams. And it's not even an indictment. It's just they fray, they unravel. And in the NFL, those of you who bet on it, I don't. But every game feels like a one-score game. So when you have chemistry that's frayed and you have guys pointing fingers and always looking to assign blame rather than saying, it's on me, I should have done it. That's when things usually go south. And we've seen that a lot through the last 8 years with the Broncos. Even at the end of last season. I mean, Payton, again, I said this forever. If you go back to listen to my podcast, he's establishing the right culture. They went from the Sesame Street of Nate Hackett to the Mean Street and Compete Street of Sean Payton. The coaching's there. He's not perfect, but he's way better this year than he was last year. The year off, he was rusty. He's coaching better. His staff has these guys geared up. They're really good on special teams, which there was a dumpster fire for the better part of 7 years since the Super Bowl until Mike Westhoff and Ben Kotwicki showed up last year. They play good special teams. That's a buy-in thing, folks. That's a coaching and buy-in thing and an effort thing. You watch them on defense under Vance Joseph. And I know a lot of people were critical of the Vance Joseph hire. But I'm telling you, Vance Joseph inspires loyalty in his players. He puts them in position to succeed. And you heard it from Wade Phillips last week, but Wade talks about, as a coach, you take the blame. You tell them, if you make mistakes, I'll fix them in the film room. You need to go out there and play with freedom, play fast. And it just unleashes guys to reach their potential. But now it gets a lot harder. We have to understand that. But it helps that Bo Nix played better. And before all the people, remember, you guys are the one that told me Bo can't throw. Bo's Tim Tebow. No, he's not. Tim Tebow's favorite receiver was the ground. I liked him, the person. He couldn't pass. Anyone that watched him realized he cannot be an NFL quarterback because he can't throw. He didn't throw in college. Bo Nix completed 75% of his passes at in Oregon in 2 years. He's shown the ability to do it. So when you watch his footwork, there's no reason to think he can improve. I don't know where it's going to end up, but the idea he can't throw, you don't go from 75% in college, even against the horrible Pac-12 defenses, to not being able to throw. So Bo can throw. And it's a work in progress, but Bo can throw. And he had his get-right game yesterday. But the Big A sent me these stats, and these are from CBS, who had the game yesterday. For those of you wondering how Bo's doing and why you got to give this a little patience, and there's every reason to buy into this right now and believe this can be something special and he can be a franchise guy. In October, Bo Nix's rookie ranks in October. Passing touchdown, 7, first. Passing touchdown to interception ratio, 7-1, first. Passing yards, 870, first. Rushing touchdowns, 2, first. Wins, 3, tied for first. Am I crazy? You don't see that as progress? I know it doesn't look exactly how you all want it to look at times. I get it. But give it a little time here. Josh Allen was completing 56% of his passes his first 2 years. You know, it takes a little bit of time, and that's okay. That's okay. But I'll say right now, he's been better than Caleb Williams so far this year. I'm not saying he's going to end up better. He's been better than Caleb Williams. Williams was not good yesterday, folks. Jaden Daniels has been by far the best rookie quarterback. That was my guy coming out of the draft. They were never going to get him. That was my guy because he was Lamar Jackson as a better passer early in his career. And he has the miracle now, the Hail Mary, to beat the Bears and Caleb Williams. I mean, he's going to be in the MVP conversation. So I'm not saying Bo's better than him, but I would put Bo second at this point in terms of their seasons right now. But we got to get real, folks, because it's about to get a lot harder for your Broncos. But even saying that, there's a path. There's a path, I tell you. Coming up, they have upcoming road games at Baltimore, who are angry, the angry Ravens, who just got upset by the Browns. And here's the thing. Jameis Winston, if you ever want to laugh, watch his pre- and post-game interviews from yesterday. Jameis Winston is an odd dude. Him talking about playing for the decal on the helmet and then realizing the Browns don't have a logo on their helmet. It's one of the all-time pregame moments. And goes along with him eating the W. Like, he has some weird, odd things he does. And then quoting Eminem lyrics with, seize the moment. It was just, but the Ravens defense is not good, folks. Their pass defense under Coach Orr, they lost like 3 of their best defensive coaches. They have not responded defensively. Kyle Hamilton could have won that game with a pick late, dropped it right in his hands. But that is symbolic of a Ravens defense that's vulnerable. And I'm not saying they're going to win. Broncos are a 9-point dog at Baltimore. This is the Broncos team that's won 3 straight on the road. Baltimore just lost to Cleveland, and they're a 9-point favorite. Why? Because they're angry, and they're really, really, really good offensively. The only chance, and we'll get into it more on Friday, they have is to slow down the running attack, make Lamar Jackson beat them through the air. And he might. He's had that kind of season, but you can't allow Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson to win on the ground. If they do, you're going to lose, 34-17. It's not going to be competitive. But then you go to the Chiefs. That game could be competitive because Chiefs offense isn't great, and they let teams hang around. They beat the Raiders 27-20. It really wasn't that close, but they're not a great offensive team. They might have the best defense, along with the Chargers and Broncos. The best defenses this year feel like they're all in the AFC West. But you can go 0-2 on those next 2 and still have a shot, folks. Still have a shot. Broncos are 5-3. They sit 5th in the playoff standings right now. They're ahead of the Ravens, who are 5-3, and that's because of the AFC conference tiebreaker. The Chargers, they're ahead of at 4-3. That's the 6th and 7th teams. The Colts are on the outside looking in at 4-4. Bengals at 3-5. Dolphins at 2-5. So even if you say the Ravens and Chargers finish in front of them, the Broncos have a real path to the 7th spot. They control their destiny in some ways because they play the Colts and Bengals. And the Colts, if they keep starting Anthony Richardson, they're going to be out. The kid's got amazing athleticism. I mean, he's less accurate than T.J. Hooker in old cop movies when he throws the ball. I mean, the guy cannot. He's 10 for 32 yesterday. And he asked out of a game because he got tired. Never heard of a quarterback doing that. The Colts are beatable at home. Bengals on the road, who knows? But who knows where the Bengals will be at that point? They might trade off some parts. They're definitely not the team that we thought they were, and their defense isn't very good this year. But when you look at the Broncos and how this thing could work for them, they have the chance because of the way the schedule falls. The way the schedule falls, you're looking at teams that when you look at the Colts, they still have to play the Broncos. They have to play the Texans. They have a tough go. And then you look at the Bengals, who are right there with them. The Bengals have to play the Steelers twice. They have to play the Ravens again. So, like, you're looking at a team, if you're the Broncos, the swing game to keep an eye on, folks, is their next home game against Atlanta. You need that one. You win that one, or if you win one of these next two, you're in great shape. But if you lose those two and you come home at 5-5, that Atlanta game starts to feel like a must-win with the return of Justin Simmons. That starts to feel like a must-win because of the fact it's just you've got teams on the other side that you should beat, but you're not sure. So you beat Atlanta. Then you have the Raiders on the road. You never won in Vegas. This is the year that has to change. You have the Chargers and the Bengals. Raiders, Chargers, Bengals. You got to win two of those three. You got to win it. And you have the Browns at home. You have the Colts at home. I mean, so when you look at some of these next games that are coming up at home, Cleveland stinks. Indianapolis with Anthony Richardson is beyond beatable. And Kansas City's the last game of the season. They might be resting guys as the secure number one seed. They're so far out in front of the pack right now. They're like 2 games in front of everyone. It might even be 3 now, 2.5. They could be taking the rest on that last game of the season. And that's not the Broncos' fault if they play their backups. But you've got to beat the Browns at home. You've got to beat the Colts at home. And for me, you have to beat the Falcons at home. That's why yesterday was big as well. Start reasserting home field dominance. The crowd was loud. They were into it. You got a coach getting into it with the players. You got the Broncos with attitude and energy. And that's what kind of feels, that's why this feels different. Like a new era, finally, of Broncos football has arrived. Confidence, border on arrogance. We'll punch you in the mouth. We don't make excuses for anything. We're going to keep improving. We believe in ourselves. And all the things these teams used to say in the past that made us roll our eyes, this team has the goods, folks. They have a defense that will travel. They have a young quarterback that's getting better. They've shown the ability to run the ball. I still think you got to go out a piece at the deadline. I'd go get a tight end or go get a receiver. They need more offensive weapons. But everything is in front of them to have a chance to get into the playoffs. It's right there. Since the schedule expanded to 17 games, no 10-win team has missed. So if you go 5-4, you're in. And again, they sit 5th, and the Colts schedule includes the Vikings, Bills, Lions, and Broncos. They're 4-4. Those are some losses in there. That's at the Vikings. They're not beating the Bills. They're not beating the Lions. If the Broncos beat them, they're out. So that leaves the Cincinnati as your biggest competitor for like the 7th seed. They face the Steelers twice, the Ravens, Chargers, and then the Broncos. And they've already got 5 losses. So you control your destiny if the Broncos. The way you've dominated in October, you've won 5-6. It's okay, Broncos country. Recalibrate. I have, because of what we're seeing from Bo Nix, what we're seeing from a top 10 historical defense in terms of franchise history, and what we're seeing in the AFC this year, folks. It's no longer the bully conference. That's the NFC. That's the NFC with Washington. You know, that team over there, Philly. Those teams. Even San Francisco as they get healthy. Certainly feels like the best teams, the more good teams are in the NFC. The AFC's opened up this year. Not unlike the Big 12 for CU. They deserve the credit for getting to the wins. And then you look up and Oklahoma State's not good this year. Utah's not good this year. Kansas is not good. It feels similar for the Broncos when Cincinnati is falling. The Colts are a fraud team, a fake ID team. Where's the other team? The Dolphins aren't coming back from what they're 2-5. The Jets are done. Did Hassan Reddick give the postgame speech yesterday as the new guy? The Jets are done. And that's what I'm saying. Jets, Bengals, Colts, these are Browns. These are all teams that we thought would be in the playoff mix. They're not in it. So if you're the Broncos, it comes back to reasserting home field dominance against the Colts, against the Browns, against the Falcons, it comes down to you've got to sneak that win at Vegas. We got to win for the first time in Vegas. And if you beat the Chargers or if you beat the split with the Chiefs or even split on this next 2-game road trip, everything is setting up for you to go to the playoffs. So enjoy it, Broncos country. It does come with qualifiers. You beat the Panthers. They're terrible. But this is about a bigger issue, about a buy-in with a coach that's created playoff expectations, about players believing in it, and a schedule that allows you to do it because you have a defense that will travel and an offense that's improving. So, man, buckle up, folks. It's going to be a heck of a ride over the next few months. It is nice to be optimistic and cover a team that has a chance. And you can believe, folks. Believe. It's okay. It's okay. And listen, I could not do this podcast without Mile High Sports Big A and Nate Lundy. I could not do it without my man, Darby Hoggett of Hoggett Injury Law, and our new sponsor, Bet Online. Broncos country, I do this pod for you. Happiness that begins with me. Go out there and have a great day.